Hello and welcome to the Trent Valley Railway. In this video we'll take a detailed look at the DCC Concepts Solenoid Accessory Decoder unit and how I've used these to operate the points on the fiddle yard and lower level of the layout. This video is part of a series of videos that documents the build and the operation of the Trent Valley Railway. Let's now take a look at how I've installed one of these units and wired it up to operate the points.
Now, some of these have gone past their sell-by date now, and this is one of the original sets of 8 that DCC Concepts did, and these don't really have enough power within them to operate one of the SEEP point motors, so these come as a 4 for the ESU switch pilot. Now, I'm trying to recycle these, so I might use them elsewhere on the layout rather than using them for solenoid point motors, so I can use them for momentary outputs on both of these. So I'm not going to throw these away, but see if I can recycle them elsewhere. But in the meantime, I've now been able to purchase these different sets, which are the latest versions from DCC Concepts. So these are the Solenoid Accessory Decoders. They come with 2 outputs, or originally as well an 8 output set here, and they now come also in their latest range in a 4 output. So each of those will be very useful in different areas around the layout, whether I need to group 2 decoders for points together, or whether I need to group a set of 4 points together, or obviously 8 in the main fiddle yard. I now go into more detail about wiring one of these up and use a 4 output solenoid decoder there in the middle to do the lift out section in the middle, and then also show you the progress hopefully around the rest of the layout using the other 8 and the 2 outputs. The next part of fitting all of the point decoders for the lower level of the layout is then to move on to this lift out section on the very lower level. So this is the underside of it with all the wiring that I previously did to run the trains, and have the red and black positive and negative bus wire, as well as then the green wires for the frog on the points. So I've now got a ADS4SX DCC Concepts Solenoid Decoder, and this will then be wired up into each of the points on this lift out section. Taking a closer look at this decoder here, this will focus in. There's a DCC input at either end to daisy chain these around your layout, and then there's also a button at the end there which to press once you need to do some rewiring here to make sure you discharge the CDUs that are in this. Within this there are 4 CDUs, as this has got 4 point decoders, so that it has the charge ready to switch each of the solenoid Pico, Gauge Master PM1 point decoders that I have on the underside of the layout. Then on each of the sides of this, there's 4 sides which say solenoid, switches, frog and LED. So I'm using at the moment just the solenoid ones, but you can also then add in more outputs and inputs into each decoder to create a panel, an LED panel to show the switching, and also to power the frog for each of the point motors. So I'll now get on with wiring up this across this section. What I've just done is wired up the second DCC bus wire for all of the accessory decoders, and I've chosen here 2 colours of pink and purple for this accessory bus. It does feed back to the Z21 and connect into the same wires that the red and the black wires connect to in the main track power from the Z21, but I've then separated them as soon as they leave the Z21, so that if I get any problems on either of the bus wires, I can separate them without interference. So that's the stage for adding the pink and the purple bus wire, and then these will now go into the DCC end of the point decoder here. Across the layout, I've colour coded the wiring so it's consistent for each of the point motors, and then connecting it up with the track, the live for the frog, which is the green, and then also the point motors going into each of these decoders. So for each of these, the blue is the common wire, and then I have an orange wire which goes to A on the SEEP point motor, and then a brown wire which goes to F on the other side of the point motor. So this then translates into, for the DCC Concepts point decoder here, I'm going with left is the orange wire, the common, which is the centre, is the blue wire, and then the right is the brown wire. So I'll now connect each of the 4 points on this section up with the solenoid point decoder. This is now the completed wiring for this lift out section on the very lower level of the layout, and I've put in each of the common left and right wires for each of the 4 points on this lower level lift out section. Just like the other Cobalt DCC point motors that I showed you in last month's update, these have a little switch on them to run or then set for when you want to apply the DCC accessory number from your main control system, so that these can operate through this flick of a switch. For me, this is on then the Z21 system. So I now put this back into the section of the layout on the lower level, and then test this to make sure that all of the decoder points are working, and flick the switches as required through the Z21 app. I've now got the lift out section back in place in front of the garage door here. I'm just going to quickly walk through how I am going to set number 520 on the Z21 app for the point there on the screen, for this point on the layout in very front here, so this one here, which then goes down towards the very bottom right hand corner. I've already moved the switch on the accessory decoder underneath this section to set, and I'm now going to flick the switch on 520 on the iPad, and that has now set the decoder for that number 520 and the corresponding point on the layout. I'll now move the switch back to run, and then we'll test this to make sure that it throws in the right direction. Having now moved the switch to run on the accessory decoder underneath the lift out section here, I'll now press 520, and there we go, we see the point throw in the right direction actually for also the corresponding green right away on the Z21 app. So now I've got that one sorted, I'll move on to setting the other 3 points on this lift out section with the corresponding numbers and the diagram in the Z21 app. I've now set the other 3 points on this lift out section to 519, 521 and 522. For all of these, I've actually found out that the throw, if I click 519, is actually in the opposite direction to how I'd like it to throw based on what's shown on the Z21 app. So that should now be a through route towards the other point on that running line, but it's actually throwing for the turnout. So I'm going to go back and into control station. If I click on the point for 519 and click edit, I'm now going to switch the throws on these for 0 on that one and 1 on the opposite way to reverse that. Go back and save, go into the app again, and now if I now look at 519, it's already showing now for the turnout in the correct direction. If we throw it, it now shows the through route. So I'll do that as well for 521 and 522, and then that is this area now sorted for the point decoders and operating all of these points from the Z21 app.
Following on from getting that lift out section working and wired up, here's just a few of the other pictures from around the lower level and the fiddle yard for each of the 2, 4 and 8 units, and the DCC bus wire for the accessories that runs back to the main control unit. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos from the Trent Valley Railway.